And this recording will help other parents who are either unable to join tonight or if parents want to go back in and review the training. So welcome and good evening. Thank you all for joining. We did have a bit of a mix-up earlier in the week about trying to get this training communicated out to all of you, so I'm grateful that you were able to join. My name is Oz Aral, and with me tonight is also Eric Hagan. And together we are your webmasters for EARThS Magnet School. Eric, any introductory words for yourself? Eric is new this year, so we want to welcome him aboard. Eric?
Thanks very much. Yeah, first year, my son Dorian started kindergarten. Super happy to be helping out with the website. Just perfect opportunity for me. I've been doing web development, web design at Cal Lutheran University in town here for quite a long time, so it's right up my alley, and I'm happy to help out and be part of the team.
Thank you, Eric, and welcome aboard again. I see a lot of familiar faces out there, or familiar names, I should say, and it's really I'm really grateful that we have some return parents from last year. We are going to do a very quick roll call, just so I can know which classes we covered, so that if there's any parents that missed tonight's training, I can reach out proactively and correct for that. So I'm just going to go real quick when I say your name, and I deeply apologize in advance if I've mispronounced your name. I will do my best. But when I call your name, if you could just introduce yourself real brief and state which classrooms you represent. So Chaitanya, well, we'll start with you.
Yeah, Chaitanya Phade, grade girls, fifth grade class.
I'm sorry, which classrooms again? The network cut out briefly.
Fifth general.
Okay. Just making a quick note here. Jennifer Almazan.
Hi, Miss Lewis's first grade class.
Great teacher. I had the privilege of having her as a teacher last year, so wonderful teacher. And Jayu?
For Miss Fry's class, first grade.
Excellent, thank you. Jyoti?
Hi, I'm Jyoti. My daughter's name is Devika. She's from Mrs. Fitzgerald's class. It's room 22.
Perfect. And Mark?
Great.
Yes. So it's a good place to be.
Hi.
Mark?
Yep, I'm Mark. Miss Pletcher's class, room 10, second grade.
Okay. And Steve, who are you representing again? It's Peoples, and that's it? Steve?
Oh, sorry, I had my phone on mute. Peoples for second grade and Lynn for first grade.
Awesome. And I myself, in addition to doing the webmaster role, I've also taken up both Mrs. Payway for second grade as well as Miss Moore for the fourth grade. And Eric, which classrooms are you covering this year?
I'm going to be helping out with Mrs. Harvey's class, kindergarten.
Excellent. All right, everyone. Thank you again for joining. So first and foremost, on behalf of the school, I want to convey our appreciation for you volunteering to be a web parent. You'll find that it's a wonderful role to take on because you become really the liaison for the classroom for all of your teachers. And you're the liaison broadcasting out to all the parents in your classroom. You are a communicator, and you're using the website to do that. It's incredible how much the parents rely upon getting the information, especially for homework, spelling lists, field trip dates, and to be able to do that on a whim. Often, and I know I've experienced this myself, often I'll be out of the house somewhere, maybe even on vacation, and all of a sudden my wife or I will be like, oh no, when was that field trip date again? And first thing we're doing is we're hopping on the website. So what you're doing is an incredibly important role, and it has its benefits. The biggest benefit, of course, is the fact that you can do this from home and over email, communicating with your teacher. So it gives you some conveniences there. Once you get accustomed to the role, you'll also find it relatively it is easy, but that's not the word I was looking for. It's consistent. So you'll be putting in maybe an hour a week, perhaps more or less depending on how much you want to or have been asked to do. And please, please, please record your hours. So the school on the, what was the website from the PTA, was the My School Anywhere. The My School Anywhere pages have an ability there where you can record your volunteer hours. If you go into the volunteer tab, and down there, there's an option for recording volunteer hours. Please do that. Do that on a monthly basis. Make sure you take credit for your hard work. The school does track the volunteer hours that the parents put in. And a lot of what's great about EARThS Magnet School is the volunteer hours that are put in. So I'm going to, I prepared a slide deck here. We followed a similar format last year. And I will pause at certain moments to get some questions from you. If we have any questions that we want to cover later on, we'll leave those to the end. I'll just write them down in what I call a parking lot. So as I mentioned earlier, it is a convenient volunteer role to take. What you really want to be doing is maintaining an organized location for your classroom parents to go and get to what they need. So whether that's, as I mentioned before, field trip dates or homework, spelling lists are always a big one. And the various links that our educators use to have the children go and do additional activities or even sometimes their homework. So stuff like RazKids, MobiMax, these are things you will hear about a lot, and just to have that link on your webpage is great. Classroom bulletins, there's information broadcasts that teachers sometimes send out. There's even, as a web parent myself, I often will take the email that comes from the teacher and I'll actually just put that on the web page as well. And ultimately, what you're doing is you are helping the teacher out. The teacher will send an email out, but they're not always confident that that message has come across. So by you duplicating that information or maintaining that information on their classroom page gives them the confidence that their parents have access to the information they need. So a couple of things with what's new this year for those of you that were web parents last year. As the parents from last year are aware, and this will be new information for the new parents, we have a bit of a catastrophe last year. The district updated the web servers about 3 or 4 days into the school year. And because of EARThS being a magnet school, there was some specialized layouts there that didn't play nice with the update. And consequently, it brought the entire EARThS web pages, the entire EARThS website, completely down and unavailable for about 2.5 months. So we had to do a lot of rebuilding. In the process, we also updated our instructions. And what we found was it actually did give us some easier to use tools. So for those new parents that are joining us tonight, the various tools that you'll be using to edit the pages are much easier than they were in the past. It's far more intuitive and allows for any skill level really to be able to do what they need to do for their teacher. Additionally, mobile rendering. So they introduced a new feature for being able to render the web pages in a mobile format. That has also become more stable. So originally, when they first brought up the new web server last year, it was virtually unusable on a mobile phone. Now it's become quite more accessible and usable and user-friendly. So improvements are still happening. We do periodically see updates every few weeks. But so far, it's been a positive experience. Things to look out for. Since the catastrophe of last year, some bugs still do exist. And please understand that these are just limitations. There's not much we can do about them. We do work, so Eric and I do work with the district web administrator, and even he has a limited capacity with what he can do because much of the tools that we use are coming from a third party. So as of right now, not all module types work. If you don't know what a module is, I'll introduce it for you in a few moments. But not all module types work. Fortunately for you, we have listed and documented what module types do work. So you'll have that information after this training today. We have also observed that when you're editing the classroom pages, it can be browser sensitive. So we have tested on Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari. What I have found to be most stable is Chrome. I've also heard positive comments about Safari. One of our other former webmasters also found Firefox to be incredibly stable. Internet Explorer I've had some mixed results on. So One thing that we have observed is if you set your zoom setting to about 90%, that seems to play nice with editing your web pages. If you go lower than that or higher than that, things sometimes don't render the way they're supposed to. As far as a parent coming in and looking, it's no problem. But when you're editing and using the tools, it's important to change that zoom setting to something appropriate. F5 is your friend, by the way, if something is locking up, which it commonly does, or the page isn't quite populating the way you hope, just press F5. It'll refresh it. And if you really want to do it hardcore, you just do a Control F5, which will blow away the cache as well. I did find a new bug about a week ago. And this bug is something that wasn't there before. It involves the concept of shared modules. As you are editing your web page, you have the ability to grab a module that existed on another classroom's page. And that's called a shared module. And what's neat about shared modules, and you'll have teachers that'll ask for this, especially the kindergarten teachers. So Eric, there's a nudge in your direction there. The kindergarten teachers love to have modules shared across all 4 kindergartens. What that does is it allows an update to one module to automatically update the others. The bug, however, we found, which unfortunately I found on Miss Payway's page earlier this week, was as of right now, if you try to pull in a shared module from another page, it attaches all the other modules to that one. And so wherever you drop it on the page, it reformats everything. So all the other modules now fall into the same box instead of retaining where they were supposed to be. The bigger catastrophe, which unfortunately I also fell victim to, was realizing that was happening. I clicked cancel, and when I hit cancel, it actually removed irrecoverably all of the modules on the page. So I spent about an hour and a half rebuilding her entire page. So just be aware. At this point in time, I'd recommend you not use shared modules, or if you are bold and brave enough to do so, please be aware that you absolutely don't want to hit cancel when you're dropping that module in. But if you do drop the module in, you might want to get a screenshot or have a second web page open just to capture what the layout was so that you can rebuild it quickly. All right, so that's what's new this year. Before we get into kind of the high-level overview of some of the techniques you'll be following, is there any questions? And if you do have a question and you're not hearing me respond, it's possible that you might be muted, so make sure that you unmute yourself. All right, so this is a quick start guide for you. We actually already have this presentation, this slide deck, as well as a more detailed document available on the EARThS webpage. So the WebParent training guide, which is also on the EARThS webpage, and I'll show you in a moment where that is. Those links will give you this guide here. The guide itself is detailed. I'm not going to go through the whole thing tonight, but it is a good reference guide for any web parent. So if you want to do something as simple as create a new module, it gives you the instructions on how to do that. So please do take the time to skim through it at the very least. You can definitely get into the details later on when you need it. But do download that and make that document available to you because it will help you. Today we're going to give you the basics on how to get your classroom pages up and running. This third comment here is actually outdated. Pages are no longer locked for parents. You are able to get in there, but you need the password. So we'll make sure you get that password before today's training is completed. And do also notify your parents, or through your teacher, have the parents notified when the classroom page is ready for use. There will be material on your classroom page left over from last year that unfortunately can be quite misleading to the parents. Best example is upcoming field trip dates. Sometimes parents will get confused, or homework, or spelling lists. They are outdated, so when this training is done over the next few days, I really encourage you to spend a little bit of time and at least revise or clean up the page. And do recognize, please do work with your teachers, but also recognize that their time is limited. I have found with almost all of the educators, they are relying upon you. They are relying on your decision-making ability, and they are incredibly forgiving. So if you wind up laying out a classroom page at your own discretion, please do so. And the best thing you can do is just ping the teacher, maybe a simple email, and say, hey, these are some of the changes I made. When you get a chance, take a look. 95% of the time, they're going to be fine with what you're doing. In other instances, you'll absolutely have the teacher early on in the year tell you, this is how I want the page laid out, or can you post these things up there? You'll do it once, and you'll understand the rhythm for that teacher. So, but one thing I would definitely say is don't feel the need to have to get your teacher's approval on everything. Just make sure that they're aware that you made a change, and just do it, because the teachers will be really appreciative of that. So logging in, it's simple, and many of you may have already gone to the home page and seen this. There is a login button at the top. You click on that, you're going to get an authentication page. You want to enter your WebParent username. So it's not your normal username, but your WebParent username and password. And when you log in with that, it's going to give you the privileges to edit your classroom page. It is also recommended after you've done edits to your classroom page that you log out from the WebParent account and you now log in with your regular account. So it's encouraged that all web parents have 2 accounts. When you log in with your regular parent account, you're going to see that web page exactly the way all the other parents are. So it becomes a good technique to use, and something that even Eric just the other day reminded me I should be using, because I failed to do so and have gotten myself caught on that many times. When you are going to your classroom page, what you want to do is go to the Class Connect link at the top. Just hover over it. It'll give you a list of classrooms. Hover over the grade that you want, and then it'll give you the teacher that you want to see. So in this case, I did this presentation last year with Miss Lewis's class. Once you're in, also note that there's this little pencil on the toolbars on the left. You want to click that, and you want to click it twice. When you click it the first time, it'll put you into edit mode, but often it'll remove you from edit mode automatically. If you click it twice, it'll lock you in there. So it becomes a great way for you to just not worry about that again. And once that pencil is blue, you are able to edit the pages. As far as editing an existing module, it's really just a matter of hovering over. And if you can see my cursor here, it's a matter of just hovering over that module. There's this little white bar at the top. If you just hover over there, you'll see these 3 icons pop up. If those icons are not popping up, it means you're probably not zoomed in at the right level. Again, 90% is what you're trying to get to. To zoom your browser, if you've ever done it before, or if you haven't done it before, you want to hold your control key down and scroll your mouse back and forth. That's an easy way to do it, at least in a Windows platform. Eric, is there a trick that, which unfortunately I don't know, so if there's a trick for Apple, that would be a good advice right now as well.
Yeah, on a Mac, you can hit the hold down the Command key and hit the plus or minus keys to zoom in or out.
Thank you for that, Eric.
How can I get the WebParent username?
I'm sorry, one more time with the question?
How can I get the WebParent username?
I will give that to you today. So
Okay.
I will give that to you today. In fact, I'm going to... unfortunately, I don't have all of your email addresses, so I'm trying to come up with an easy way to do this, but I will put it on screen so at least you can write it down, or better yet, I'm going to send you a message through the GoToMeeting chat room so that you can copy that message electronically, okay?
Okay.
But you will have that shortly. And so when you go in there, you're very welcome. When you go in there, you're going to hover over that pencil, click on it. Edit content is what you want to click on, and that'll open up a page similar to this. It's a pop-out. Don't try to move it around. It doesn't play nice with that. But when you're in that edit mode, now you can go in and actually edit either in a design format where you can copy and paste graphics in there. You can just type regularly like it's a Word document. You have some text editing capabilities. Or you can go in and do HTML. So if you're savvy with HTML and you want to do some neat stuff there, you may also click the HTML tab at the bottom and just do straight HTML. One of the other tabs, in addition to the, if you were to go in and do settings, so similarly, if you go to that modules header and click on the little wrench icon or the gear icon, you are able to go into settings. Now we'll cover the settings tab real quick. To be able to add a title to a module, which is important, you go into the module settings and you can just add a module title there. Similarly, I discourage you from playing around with permissions. If you have a question about permissions, please do reach out to Eric and I, and I'll give you that email address as well in a minute. And the other two tabs, which is page settings and module settings, there are some settings in there to help for the module. For example, make it printable, which some modules you do want to make printable for the parents, as well as you can go in there for settings to set the template, the borders, which I will explain in a brief moment here. If you wanted to create a new module, what you do is you go on to the very bottom of the page, and there's a box there where if you click it, it'll give you the option to add a new module. You're going to get a window that looks almost like this. And at that point, you're going to go into the search box and type in the module type that you want. The most common module that's used on your classroom pages is HTML. It's an HTML module, which means it's just a simple interface for either adding HTML code in or using the editor to create the HTML code. And the editor itself behaves much like a Word document. In fact, sometimes your teachers will send you a Word document, and you can get away with just copying and pasting that entire Word document in there. One of the other niceties of the tool, which was introduced last year, is you can now drag and drop. So if you have a new module that you've added, you can just click on that module and drag it and drop it wherever you want. You will see an example in a moment of that. In fact, I'll demonstrate for you shortly on a real web page. Media. So this is a bit of an important topic. You are welcome to add graphics to your pages. However, you must, and please do, grab it from the common location where we have the approved graphics. The screenshot example is not accurate. It's not up to date. There is a example I'll show you in a few moments. We have a single folder on the root of the file structure for the website where all of the approved clip art is. I say this because a few years ago, the school got approached by Getty Images, because many images were being used without their permission. And it was a potential lawsuit or a potential legal action against the school. So please do refrain from just grabbing any artwork from the web. Just stick to the clip art. If you do want to use artwork from Getty Images, and it's a great, sorry, not Getty Images, from Wikimedia. So there's a website, wikimedia.com, W-I-K-I media, and they have images there with their copyrights published. So they are meant to be free to use images. At the bottom of the image, it will say what the use conditions are. So it'll say either approved for academic use, approved for free use, for open use. Make sure you read that license agreement before you try to use those images. They have some great images out there. You may use it. I suggest just reach out to Eric and I, and we will help you get approval for that image. Okay, we'll check with the principal and make sure it's all okay. As far as moving around modules, it's quite easy. So you have these dotted lines on your classroom page signify different frames that you can use, and you just click that that little top of the module, and you can just click it and drag it around to a different location. Makes it incredibly easy and flexible, especially if you want to play around with the page and see what different layouts look like. And finally, please do work with the webmasters. So this brief overview here is one step. I'm going to go over the detailed document in a moment. I'm also going to give you a little bit of a demo on the live website. Combined with all those things, please do reach out to us at any point for any question. Our email address is up there. It's earthswebmst@gmail.com. Both Eric and I are watching that inbox on a regular basis, so we will get back to you quite quickly. If you have a question about trying to log in, if you have a question about a module, if you have a question about how to do something, or maybe you accidentally deleted a module, we can help you recover it. Anything that you delete, and then later on you say, oops, I deleted it, I'd like to bring it back, we can restore for you. You just have to let us know. Ideally, we're looking for the module name. So if you had a title on there, if you can tell us what the title was, that'll make it very quick for us to be able to restore for you. Also, we're always open to feedback. So if you find a bug or if you find a behavior that's unusual, please let us know. We do report those up to the district administrator. so that that can be reported as a bug and corrected. And there have been many things that we've resolved that way, just from the feedback of individuals such as yourself acting as a web parent. As I mentioned earlier, the training documentation and the presentation is available on each classroom page, and I'll show you again where that is. And like I said, please do reach out to Eric and I. So that's the introduction. Okay, we're going to spend another few minutes here. Probably the next half hour, we'll do a little bit of a demo on the website and also go through that document, the more detailed document. But before we do, any questions thus far? Keep in mind we're going to go into the bigger details in a moment. Okay. Eric, any additional comments from you at an introductory level before we dive in?
No, I think, once you get in and play around with and you use some of these tools, I think you'll find just after a little bit of time, it becomes pretty familiar. And what I found is that there are just, a handful of things you'll use again and again. You've mentioned the HTML module for getting up some information, and it's very flexible, and there's a lot you can do with that. So yeah, after a little bit of time, I think you'll start to become pretty familiar with it.
Thank you, Eric. So the first question, and I've had it from a few parents now, what's my login? So let me throw it up on screen first. This is an email I sent out to all of your teachers a couple of weeks ago, and I would love to forward to you, but I do not have your email addresses. So a couple things you can do to help us with that. After this meeting is done today, email us. Email us and introduce yourself. My name is this, here's my email address, and I am the parent for this classroom. Will you please send me some materials? And what we'll do is we'll send you this email along with the attached versions of the PowerPoint as well as the document, just for your convenience. We'll also give you this detail here. So your WebParent login, just give me one moment because I have the wrong email up. Your WebParent login. Bear with me one moment. I thought I had the right email, and I may have misplaced it here. Here we go. So again, I will send this all to you in email form, but your WebParent username is any one of these. And if you want to take a moment here just to note it, I will zoom in the screen for you. I'll keep it up here for about 30 seconds. So that's the username that you're going to use. All right, I'm going to scroll up on the screen. If you need more time, just do let me know, and I will absolutely do so. Steve, thank you for the reminder. Did not realize that the email address for Ms. Peoples was incorrect, which explains why you never got that message.
So we need to use your teacher's name?
You're going to use the username. So what's in this column here for username, that's what you want to use.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to give you
the... by teacher, right?
This is by teacher. So if your teacher, who was your teacher again?
The last one.
Fitzgerald? Okay, yeah. So what you want to use is this web_y Fitzgerald as a username. And the password is the same for everybody. Okay, so if you guys want to be mean to each other, you can start playing around with each other's websites, though I wouldn't recommend it. But if, as parents, you know each other and need one another to help out, you can. So that's the positive side of it. The password is this right here. So it's 1819, lowercase e, web, $, and it is case sensitive. Okay. So again, I'll hold on the screen for just another moment. And again, for this information after this training, please email us at the EARThS Webmaster email address, and we will respond within 24 hours with all of this information for you. Okay? All right. Let me give you an example here of what a typical scenario is like. So let's log out. So I'm going to log in here. I'm going to log in with my own account, but we can assume that it's a WebParent. And when you log in with that WebParent account, unlike when you log in with your parent with your regular account, when you log in with a WebParent account, you're going to see these tools right here. And there's that magic pencil, which I've double-clicked, so it always gives me that locked edit mode. If I wanted to edit my teacher's page, I go over to Class Connect. In this case, we're going to edit Miss Payway's page, which is where one of my children are. And I just click on Miss Payway's page. So here's the layout, and yes, this is me having rebuilt it after the little mini disaster earlier in this week. And as you can see, it was pretty easy and quick for me to do. It took me about an hour and a half to do so. And it probably could have even happened faster if I hadn't panicked and tried to troubleshoot it. If you want to add a new module, you just click on this Add New Module button. And we'll discuss in a moment what the different module types that you can use are. But as I pointed out, HTML is one of the more common ones. And as soon as I click OK there, it's going to give me, after a few seconds, this little hovering box. And that's where that module is. So let's say I want to place it up here. And as you can see, I've laid out the page with a 1/3 on one side and 2/3 on the other. To be able to drop it in a certain position, you just kind of have to wiggle your mouse around near where that breakpoint is and just drop it in. Okay. Now what I have here is a blank brand new module. So the first thing I always going to want to do is give it a title. So if I hover over that little wrench, and notice how these icons disappear until I hover over the module. I click on the gear, press Settings, and I want to change the title. I do so right here. And we're going to call it Sample Module. Just to walk through the tabs with you, there is an Advanced Settings drop down here. If you click on that, the only one really that should matter here is the View Only. And actually, I take that back. Even that one isn't going to be of material value to you. So definitely don't check this box, the Display Module on all pages, because it will duplicate it across the entire website. The Permissions tab, again, please leave it alone. It's been set to have the edit permissions only to that WebParent account. And the third tab, which is Page Settings, this is the one I was talking about earlier. You have the ability to display a container, which is the border around the module, which you absolutely want because it helps make it easier to read. You can also align the module. So in this case, we're going to place a graphic in there. So I'm just going to make it align center. Okay, I'll leave it not specified for right now. You can define a color for the module if you want to be creative, or define the color for the border that's used. Typically we leave these blank. The one checkbox that you may use is the Allow Print. By default, this is off. If it's a homework module, I tend to turn this on so that parents can hover over that module and there'll be a little icon that comes up saying Print. And they can click on that, actually print just the module instead of trying to print the web page. And the fourth tab, which is, under Page Settings, we're going to go back to Page Settings. My apologies. There is a setting that you must pay attention to, and this was, again, a result of the catastrophe from last year. We have set the defaults for all the teachers' pages to inherit the module container, but in some cases it doesn't work. So what you want to do is go in here. And these are the various templates used for all the different schools. If you scroll down to the word EARThS, the standard we are following is this EARThS v2 17 container 11. And again, this is all in the instruction manual for you, so you don't have to remember it or write it down right now. If you click on that one, that'll give you the container that follows the template throughout the site. Unfortunately, if you pick many of the other containers, it causes major problems on your page. Things will not appear. You might even see an error. until you delete the module. So this is the one that's proven to work. Please use this one. Okay. And then when you're done, you click that update button to update your settings. So now what we've done is this is that 17 container. That's the border that we have around it. There's our title, which we gave sample module, and it has just some sample text in here. So now we want to edit that text, right? So if we hover over the module again and go to edit content, it'll always have the default add content text in there. Just delete that, and you can type whatever you want. Perhaps you want to add a graphic. So to add a graphic, again, I had said use the approved clip art. But if you go into the Insert Media button up here and click on that down arrow, and there's an image manager. If you click on that, it'll now give you the ability to explore all the files that are available to you on the web page. And in here, we have one of the first folders is called Approved Clip Art. If you click on that one, you will now have access to all of the clip art that's been approved for this school. It's also possible the teacher may have a photograph themselves they want to give you. And so you can always upload that photograph by clicking this upload button to your teacher's page. Teachers teacher's folder, I should say. The teachers tend to have their folders all underneath what's called Class Connect. If you expand that, it's grouped by grade. So we'll use second grade files. And there's Payway. So all teachers will have their own folder. And here Ms. Payway has her own icons and photos as well. Okay. So perhaps we want to pick a folder that she already had, a photo that she already had available. I could pick any one of these. Notice how it's already previewing it. One thing I would caution all of you against is putting photos such as this up onto the page. Many parents get sensitive about their children being on a web page, even if it's considered to be secure. So absolutely check with the teacher before you do it. And even if the teacher says, hey, it'd be nice to throw pictures up there, it might be in your interest to remind the teacher, are the parents okay with it? Because there's been a couple of times where I've put pictures up at the teacher's request only for the teacher to come back 2 days later and say, can you take them down? We had a parent object. So do use caution. But something like this where it's just there's no kids in the background, you just click on Insert, and there it is. You can also change the properties of the picture. So if you right-click on it and do Properties, if you want, you can change the width and the height manually. You can put a border around it and so forth. So feel free to play with it. Again, all of this that I'm telling you right now is in the instruction guide, in the detailed guide, which I'll give you in a moment. So please don't feel free to take notes right now. It's all in there. The other thing we can do is a simple copy and paste. So I'll use the example here of the email I just sent out, or I sent out to the teachers. Let's say I want to add some of this text into the module. So I can do something as simple as just copy that text, Control-C to copy, and we can just paste that in there. Okay, in this case it did not work. Thank you, Google. I will give you a better example. One moment, please. So here is a email that comes from Ms. Payway, and again, we just copy that email, and I can just drop it in here and paste. And as you can see, it transfers it over perfectly because it was an HTML type email. Same thing with Word documents. It works quite well if you want to just copy a Word document over here. And then when you're done with adding what you're going to add to your module, you hit Save. And there you go. It's relatively that simple. If you're an advanced user or you are comfortable with HTML, you can also go in under the same edit and click this HTML tab. And here's where you see all the HTML code. Eric, anything else you want to throw in here on the question of adding a module and editing it?
I think you got the sorry, I think you got the basics covered there.
Perfect, thank you. So let's say I want to.
How to remove the module?
I'm sorry.
How to remove the module?
It's a little hard to hear you. Are you asking how you frame the module?
How to remove the module?
How to remove the module? great question. So to remove it, it's as simple as going over that gear icon, and at the very bottom there's a delete. So you just click that, it'll delete it. Now, you may have an instance where a teacher says, can you hide the module? Make it so it's not viewable. This is where the permission settings come in. So if you go into settings and you want to hide that module, just go to the permissions tab and uncheck the ability to view. Actually, yeah, it won't even let you do that, so it's inheriting it. You want to uncheck the inherit, there we go. You want to uncheck the box that says inherit from the parent page. Make sure that you still have access yourself because it's easy to forget that. And just leave all users and register users unchecked. And what that'll happen is any parent who logs in will not be able to see that module. However, if you log in as WebParent, you will be able to see it. Okay?
Okay.
As far as deleting, I'll demonstrate that right now. So you just click delete, and it's going to ask you to confirm. You hit yes. If you have an oops moment, which I've done, and I still do today, if you accidentally delete something and you want to recover it, just contact Eric and I and let us know what the title of the module was, and we can restore it for you. It's one of the reasons why I ask you to add that title first when you add a new module, because unfortunately our tools do not give us anything other than the name of the module, the title of the module, to be able to search by. All right, so that's a matter of just adding and editing a module. I've now gone over how to delete. As far as the module types, again, we'll go through the document in a moment. There are some types, such as what's called a rad rotator. That's one that the teachers like to use. It allows you to scroll through some slides, some pictures. So that, again, is in the documentation. If you don't have enough detail in the documentation, do reach out to us. Okay. There are modules such as this where you're going to have links. So let me just show you how to do a link. We'll edit this existing one. So if we do edit content, so here we have a link that's already available called Weekly Spelling List. To add a link, if you know the URL, you just highlight that, and up here there is a hyperlink manager button. If you click on that, it'll allow you to enter what the link is going to be. The one bug with this is it doesn't remember the last thing that you entered, so it's not a conducive way to look up what you had before. If you want to change that text to no longer be linked to anything, you just click on the remove link button and it'll remove it. If you're editing text in a module using this HTML editor, please do not feel frustrated if things don't work the way you hoped. It is not uncommon for the editor to have a certain spacing, and then when you click save, it comes up completely different, maybe an extra space or less of a space. Just play around with it. Sometimes it's best to just delete everything and start over. It's, again, unfortunately, some of the limitations with the tools that we're using. Trying to see if there's anything else to cover here. So you can also create URLs, linked URLs with any graphic as well. It's the same process. So if you go to edit that content, just select that picture or select the graphic, and you can go into the hyperlink manager and set that URL. When you're doing that, by the way, I always recommend that you change your target from none to new window. This is a neat convenience for the teachers and for the parents, so that when they click on that URL, it still keeps this page open, but it just adds a new tab in the web browser with the new URL that you were linking to. Okay. Any questions thus far? Again, there's a lot more detail in the document, and we're going to review that briefly, but is there any other questions thus far? I'm just giving you the basics here. Okay. At the bottom of every page, there are links for your use, and these are available only to the web parents logged in with a WebParent account. There's the training guide, the quick start training, which I just showed you with the PowerPoint presentation, and tonight's recorded presentation will also be available. If you click on this right now, you'll get last year's. So let's get into the actual training guide.
The permissions are actually incorrect on that right now. They're currently available to all users. So you might want to update the permissions on that module because that's linked on every single page.
Steve,
and all users can currently.
When's the last time you checked?
30 seconds ago.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that feedback. We tried to fix that a week ago. Eric noticed that as well, and I will make a note to correct that. So right now the permissions are showing it as available to all parents?
Yeah, I looked at the permissions.
On
The web training doc module, that whole module is available to all users.
Okay, thank you. And for all the other parents listening, this is a perfect example of what you want to do with us. So Steve has been a WebParent, has it been 2 years now, Steve?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so Steve's been a WebParent with us for 2 years, and as you can see, we have a great relationship with him over those last 2 years. As WebParents, you are one of the key resources for us to learn about what might be wrong with the website. So please do reach out to us comfortably. If we need to, we'll even schedule a phone call with you. Okay? All right. So let's open up that document. I'm just gonna. The term is "eat your own dog food." I like to call it "drink your own champagne," but since this latest update is here, we'll just click on the link and see the PDF document here. So I'm not going to go over in detail. If I do, it's going to take us another hour. What I'm going to do is just cover over the different sections and pause for questions. There is a table of contents. Please do use it. We tried to organize the flow of this document, going from the most basic things that we would do towards the more complex ones. The first section of the document, there is a quick reference guide. It just has some key notes for you on what you need to know. Let me just review this real quick to see if there's anything of material I need to let you know. Okay. There are page settings that you should not have to touch. We've gone through and corrected them last year, but Steve earlier pointed out that he might have had some difficulties with Miss People's page, and it's possible something is wrong in the actual page settings. So we do have those page settings here for your reference. If you suspect something's wrong, if you go to the, let me just bring up the EARThS page. Oh, look at that. Shame on me. I did not make that link actually open up a new tab, as I just told you all. If you go to the page settings, so let's just pick one of the teachers here. And I'm going to pick on Miss Peoples. So if you go to the very bottom here and just do page settings, this is where you're going to see the additional detail about the page itself. So there are permissions for the page. Under the Advanced tab, and this is where it matters, there's an Appearance section. Once you click on that, just wait about 5 seconds. These are the defaults you want to be using. What this is the site default. If you change this, you will crash the page. It'll make it unaccessible. We can recover it, but it'll lock you out for a while. Under the Layout button, again, I suggest you use this one. It's called Home Layout Left menu. What this does is it lays it out in a way where that 1/3 of the page of the frames are on the right side and the 2/3 are on the left. And then the page container. This is that default page container that you want to use, which gives it that standardized template that we agreed upon last year. Okay. Everything else in here you really don't have to worry about. And do use it with caution because you can cause some damage. Going back to our document. So we cover the page settings here as well. These are the types of modules. So there are 4 modules that we know that work well, and these 4 represent a majority of the modules you'll ever use. So we talked about the HTML/text module. There is a rad rotator. Teachers love to use this one as well, and it allows you to actually have pictures and images rotate through. There's also a links module, and you can't change the font style or size, but it makes it a very easy table form for you to add text and the URL. So if you want to just present your parents with a list of various classroom resources and just have them click on those and navigate, you can do that quickly through the links module. And then finally, there's an announcements module. This one's pretty neat because it allows you to have, for example, this module at the top of the page, and you can put an expiration date on an announcement. So let's say a teacher has given you a list of upcoming field trips. So you can just have this as announcements at the top of your page to list upcoming field trips, and when that expiration date is reached, it'll make it so that that announcement is no longer visible. Now, Steve, I believe, again, you encountered some problems with this last year, but it seemed to have corrected itself, if I remember correctly, at least. With all other modules, please use them with caution. Because of the website updates that they did last year, many of the modules, again, will create a crash on your web page, and the only way to fix it is to go through the admin tools and actually remove the offending module before you can access the web page again. So I suggest just sticking to what you have. There used to be a module called iframe. Do not use it. There is a way to create an iframe through HTML, and those instructions are in this document. And I will also explain in a moment what an iframe is. Shared modules, note I have added the text here. At this point in time, I urge you not to use it. It can be a really powerful tool, especially if you have classroom teachers that are collaborating on having the same content, but it will make your life miserable. If and when I figure out that it's no longer a problem, Eric and I will reach out to you and let you guys know. So there is instructions here on how to create a shared module. Similarly, what you can do, and you're encouraged to do it, is to create a copy of another module. So let's say you're speaking with the web parent for the neighboring classroom. So let's say it's 2 fourth grade web parents, and you want to grab a copy of a module that's on the other site. So that one, again, following these instructions, what you want to do is when you create a shared module, which, by the way, you will do so, if you look at the bottom of the screen, there was the Add Module button. In fact, let me bring up the EARThS page. See how down here there was Add Module? You can also do Add Existing Module. So for adding an existing module, when you click on that button, it allows you to navigate the website. So perhaps I wanted to go to Class Connect, 2nd grade, Payway. When I click on that, it'll give me a list of all the modules that are presently on Ms. Payway's page. Let's see, you want to do links. Now, before you do that, if you just click this Make a Copy button, and then you click on links, it'll allow you to now take an exact copy of that module and drop it into your own page. Okay? And that's what these instructions here are covering. Moving modules around on the page. Again, simple instructions here. We talked about creating a new module. This here will give you instructions on those settings tabs. If you go to the page settings, it'll give you instructions on how to change the module background and color and the module style. Some teachers do like to have some unique coloring, and if they ask you to do so, please experiment with it and make it so. Module title. This really should be the first thing you always do when you add a new module, so that in case you accidentally delete it, you can recover it. Here we talk about the text and HTML editor. Notice that you can change the color as well. So you have the tools at the top where you can change color, you can change font size, you can bold, underline, italicize, you can indent, you can add a bullet list. All that's available to you. It's much like Microsoft Word. If you want to add a PDF or other document as a link in your HTML editor, we have instructions here as well. And also the instructions on how to upload a document. So often your teacher will give you a PDF file. Instead of you trying to manually type the contents of that PDF file, let's say it's a homework. Instead of you trying to manually copy it, you can always do a copy and paste, especially if it's a Word document. But for something like a PDF document, that won't work. So some of the nice things you can do is just make that PDF document something that the parents can link to. And to do so, you have the ability to upload documents. Again, please use that Class Connect folder to go down to the grade and then the teacher that you're representing and add the file in there. You are welcome to create a new folder. You're welcome to change the name of a folder that you have control over. But please do manage that information, okay? So Mrs. Lynn's parent, I believe, I want to say, who was it? That was Steve. Yeah, you're Mrs. Lynn. So Steve, if you look under Mrs. Lynn's folder structure, I think there's something from years ago when I was doing it called PDF. And every single PDF file that I had from Mrs. Lynn, I just dropped in there. Feel free to clean it up. So once you've uploaded it, you use these tools to actually select the file you want to upload. It'll add it in there. And you're good to go. Make sure when you're uploading it, you do pick what type of file you're going to use. So if you clicked up here in the HTML editor, you clicked Image Manager, and then you hit Upload, it's going to expect that it's an image file. If you try to upload a PDF file that way, it'll give you an error message. Similarly, if I wanted to add a PDF file, I'd do Document Manager, and then I'd upload a PDF file. Once you've uploaded it, you'll see it in that folder. So you can see in the folder, this is an example here for Mrs. Escudero. Here was a PDF file. And then you can insert it. So by doing so, it actually inserts it as a clickable link. You can also edit the properties. So if you were to right-click on that link, assuming it preserved the URL, it doesn't always do that. You can actually change the text of that link. Okay? And remember, always remember that target. If you do target none, it'll just open it up in the same web page. And parents will have to hit the back button to go back. If you want to be extra nice to them, just do new window. Clip art we talked about, same method. You just hit that little paperclip icon, and instead you're going to go to Image Manager. Again, if the teacher has given you an image that they've created themselves, you are welcome to enter it in there. If it's a photograph that somebody in the classroom took, you are welcome to add it in there. That is absolutely fair use. When you add an image into that design page, so let me give you an example. You can actually click and drag to resize it. So let's show you what that looks like. Again, let's not mess with Miss People's page now, because Steve is going to get angry with me if I do that. Let's go to Miss Payway. I've already destroyed one teacher's page this week. I don't want to do it to another one. So here's a module, Get to Know Miss Payway, right? So if I were to do an edit content, again, I want to add an image. I just go to Image Manager. We're going to go to Approved Clip Art. And let's say we want to add this image for Art Masters. I pick that image, I click Insert, and now it's there. I can, at least I used to be able to, so that's not working anymore. I used to be able to click and drag it. So if I wanted to enlarge that image now, it's a matter of, so what's that one going to do? Nope. Cancel out. I can just change the properties and change this manually. So let's say I want to double the size. That's going to be about 306. And let's just say 340. Okay, and there you go. That's a simple way to do it. All right, now we're going to get into the more complex stuff. So is there any questions before we move on? Okay. So this is where the iframe concept comes in. And let me give you an example of what an iframe is. If you go to the home page where the EARThS core newsletter is, this is acting as an iframe. The module type is an HTML module type, but we've put HTML code in there for it to act as an iframe. An iframe is simply a module or a frame that contains another page, or in this case, it's actually referencing a PDF document. This can be an easy way for you to post any Word or PDF files that your teacher is sharing with you. I discourage you from using it for a Word file because it's really easy to just copy and paste that Word file in to an HTML page or an HTML module. As far as PDF, this is the way that I've gotten accustomed to. If you discover a better method or a different method, please do follow that or use it. The way an
I would suggest that, sorry, Oz, for
That's okay, please, Steve.
iPhone no longer supports multi-page PDF embedded in an iframe, and so if your PDF has more than one single page, it will trim off all but the first page on all iOS devices. So that would be iPhone, iPad, everything else. So I would suggest that if your PDF file has more than one page, that it's better not to put the PDF file into an iframe.
Steve, thank you very much. And I was back in my mind, I was trying to remember. I thought you had made a comment about it last year, and yes, you're absolutely correct. And thank you for that reminder, because yes, remember, a lot of parents are using the Apple devices, the mobile devices to go in, and you do want to make their life easy. One thing that I've noticed that's happening with this iframe here now, Steve, by the way, is I was working with a parent over the summer, and what's happening in a good way, it was broken for a while, an update fixed that. It is now no longer showing the PDF file, but it actually gives you a clickable link to download it. So when you render this both in Android and iOS on this homepage, what you see for the EARThS core is just a link that says click here to open up the file. And that seems to be conducive for at least this one. But yes, please take what Steve just said to heart. If it is a multi-page PDF, an iframe may not be your best friend. As far as the code for it, again, we have it in the document, but if you go to the HTML portion of the editor, and this is probably too darn small for you to see, but there is code in here where all it is just a standard template for the code and the path to the PDF file that you would have uploaded to your to your teacher's directory. And that sample code is right here. Okay. So again, please use this with discretion. We do have iframes throughout the website. They are very powerful tools, like the cafeteria lunch menu is using an iframe. But do use it with discretion and do solicit feedback from your parents if you can. If you make a mistake, so let's say you made an edit to a module that you want to undo. You do have a history, and I believe that history goes back 5. So best example, let's go again to Ms. Payway's page. So if I pick any one of these modules, and I believe it's going to be under the edit content. I stand corrected. My apologies. It's going to be under the gear icon, settings. If you go to settings, where was that going to be?
It was on previous page. Version history.
I apologize again. Say again.
It was under the edit setting.
Oh, it was. Okay. My apologies. Thank you. So we go back to the edit settings and
After the
version history. There you go. Version history. Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, if you click on that version history button at the bottom, you can see the different versions that existed prior to this. So as you can see, Ms. Payway has made some changes on there today. And if I were to be mean, I could click on the changes I made 2 days ago. And there is a button there for rollback. If I click on that rollback button, it'll actually undo the changes since. So keep this in mind. This can be your friend. It does only keep the last 5 versions. But if you do make an oops, it's an easy recovery method. Okay. If you, as I mentioned earlier, if you do accidentally delete a module and you need to recover it, just contact us and we will help you restore it. RAD rotator. So there are instructions in here for the concept of the RAD rotator. This is, again, a great tool to use. The only drawback is you may want to find yourself resizing images that you use or re-rendering them at a lower resolution, especially if they're photos, because this day and age, parents are taking photos with incredibly high-resolution cameras. When you throw that photo up onto a web page, it can take a long time for that web page to come up. It's using up a lot of memory on the district's drives. And ultimately, it'll become a big image that you're going to have to manually resize. So there is a link here for a freeware tool for Windows 7 and Windows 10 called Image Resizer. you can use this to shrink that image size to a lower resolution. For a rad rotator, and let me just show you what that looks like. We're going to do add module. And remember, the easiest thing you can do is just do a search. So on the search box, I'll type in rad rotator here. I wait a second or two for that little link to come up, or that little box to come up, and I just drop it. And now it gives me the ability to add images that'll scroll through. So let's just say I want to add a panel. And I can add text. And let's just do update. Now before I do update, we want to give a name to that panel. So we'll call it Hello World. And we want to give it an order to view under. So this will be the first image that comes up. We click update. And since that's our only image, or our only pane, that's the only thing it's going to show. So let's say I want to add another panel. And we'll just call this picture. And we'll call this view order 2. Now at this point, let's say I want to add an image. Do again, insert media, image manager, and approve clip art. Let's say we want to put a picture of Charlotte's Web. I do insert and update, and now what you'll see is that hello world, and in a moment it should rotate over to the next pane, which it just did. You can change the way that rotates over. So right now it's just doing an instant update back and forth. If you go under settings, under rad rotator settings tab, you have the ability to make it, if you want to make it a scroll or a slideshow, if you want it to scroll up or down, if you want to add a smooth scroll delay. So let's say we wanted to, and this is in milliseconds. At least I believe it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's milliseconds. So if we want to make it happen every half second, what we'll see is, now we'll have slowed it down. So it's going to scroll up over the course of 500 milliseconds. Okay. Similarly, I can add a timeout. So I can say, I only want you to scroll every maybe 2 seconds. So every 2 seconds, we want to scroll, let's say from left to right. We want it to scroll over a course of 500 milliseconds every 2 seconds. So if we do an update here, we'll see that behavior now. So, okay, the scroll speed there, I must have fat fingered it in, but you get the point.
So I think the scroll speed may be in seconds, whereas the timeout is in milliseconds.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
And they don't specify it on the scroll speed, but I think I learned that updating the homepage.
Thank you. Oh yeah, and here, yeah, the timeout is in milliseconds, you're correct, but the scroll speed is not saying it. So let's try that now. There we go. Okay. Thank you, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and delete the module. That's your rad rotator. And you can add, actually, no, let's not delete it. You can add multiple pictures, slideshows, whatever the teacher would want you to place, or you be proactive. You can also manage the panel. So let's say this text, hello world, I no longer want it in there. I actually wanted a picture. I can do manage panels. It'll give me a table here. There's that hello world, and there's a little edit icon. If I click on that, I can change this to be something else. And you just hit return. And the behavior should still be preserved. If everything worked well, there it goes. Okay, and you can do this for a large number of images. I've never tested what the upper limit is. So I don't want to tell you infinite, but you should have plenty of flexibility there. Okay, I'm going to hit delete here. So all those instructions are in here. Please do review the instructions if you have questions. The link editor. So again, instructions are in here for it. It gives you a module such as this, which gives you quite a bit of power over creating easy to access links. I will just show you briefly what it looks like. I'm not going to get into sampling it. This is pretty straightforward. But again, if you were to add a new module and just do links, and there's our links module type. We drag and drop that. So now we're having one of our bugs. There we go. So now again, I can go in here and I can do it and add a link. And it does allow you to add that link one at a time. You would want to, you can pick what the type is. So in this case, URL is common. You can do another page on the website, perhaps a file you wanted somebody to download. So in this case, we'll just do something simple. Yahoo.com. And I have not tried what these other boxes do. So if you want to play with them, you're welcome to do so. I don't think there's much you can do to break this. But there are options here to track the number of times a link is clicked, log the user for the date and time of every click, or open a new browser window. That one, of course, I do recommend you use. And I believe as far as the roles, you should not have to worry about. So if you just do update, you should see your first link in there. Now, when you're adding your second link, this is where it becomes, you have to remember where you want to place it. So sample link 2, and we'll make this CNN. Again, we want to open up in a new window. If you go down here, you can actually do it before or after, and it'll give you the list of what's already in there. So let's say we want to do this after the first one we created, which was called sample link. And so now at this point, what you do is once you're done with your changes, any parent that goes in here can click on any of these links. It'll take you to Yahoo. And notice how it's opening up a new tab, or CNN, again, new tab. Okay. If you want to edit the links that are already in there, there is a little icon there to edit. And I believe the parents who log in with their parent account won't see that icon. Only you will as a web parent. Okay. We talk also in the document just about the permissions in general. By default, all of the modules are inheriting positions from the parent page. But you do have control over that, especially if you want to make it so that the module is not visible to the parents. So we do have instructions in here. And please do refer to them. It is possible, and this happened last year, it's possible that you lock yourself out of one of your modules. Again, if that happens to you, just let us know. It just means that you clicked the wrong permission setting in there where you've now blocked yourself. In fact, this is a great example where this is set to actually block permissions for all users. If that happens, you will lock yourself out. All right, and that is all of the details there. There clearly is countless other things you can do. Please do feel empowered to explore and experiment. There's very little that you can do on your teacher's page that will cause anything dramatic, especially if you're just playing around with modules. I do suggest you avoid the page settings when you can, but beyond that, most things that you do, you can recover. Do keep in mind that bug I mentioned earlier. Again, as a reminder for everybody, avoid using shared modules at this time because you do run the risk of completely wiping out everything. So that concludes our training for today. I really want to give an opportunity for everybody to ask any additional questions. And finally, as a reminder, please do email us as soon as you can. The best way to get a hold of us is from the homepage. So let me just delete this guy. Best way to get a hold of us is from the homepage here. And if you scroll down, actually, sorry, I believe it's the top. There is a link to contact the webmasters. There we go. under the dashboard. If you just click on that link to email the webmasters, it'll automatically generate an email for you to contact us. Okay? All right, so now I'm opening up for questions. Please feel free to ask anything.
So speaking of permissions, I accidentally changed the web training document permissions, and now I don't think any of us can access it except you. So would you mind changing those back?
Absolutely, Steve. Yeah, you changed the module permissions, correct?
Yeah, your icon and under who's allowed to see it. Yep, right there. Registered users.
So, perfect example, and we'll use it as a good learning exercise. So, yes, there's 3 sets of permissions you can set, which is checked, blocked, or not checked. If you do blocked, it will, I believe the term, I'm trying to remember, it's the least permissive permission or something like that. I forgot the exact term name, but what it's doing is when I've blocked this, I have now made it so that it's going to pick the lowest level of permission it can. So in this case, registered users is at lowest level. Since I blocked registered users, it's assuming that everybody's blocked. Whereas if I just left it unchecked, that would make it so that registered users simply cannot view or edit. So please do note that. Thank you, Steve. It was a good learning exercise. And Steve, now that I've said it, if you want to confirm that, it would be helpful.
I will in just a second.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Editing questions. Okay.
No problem at all. Do we have any other questions tonight?
Hello. What should I do to get added to this mailing list?
So there's no mailing list. What you can do if you want to get the details for the password and the username, and to have us provide you with just a physical copy, all you have to do is just email us. So go to the link where it says email the webmasters, and that will open up with whatever email client you're using. It'll open up your email client. This is the email address, earthswebmaster@gmail.com. If you use that, just send us an email, give us your name and which classroom you represent. It'll allow us to respond back to you. And that way I will also have your email address in case I need to reach out to you.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Our pleasure.
Hey, this is Vijay. I have a question. Is that whenever we log into the web page, or is that the template a vanilla template, or do you have any standard set of links and dashboard available for everyone?
Good question. So, and Vijay, which teacher did you represent?
I represent Mrs. E.
Mrs. E, yep. 1 second. So if we were to go to Mrs. E's page, which should be kindergarten, it's Escudero, there we go. So yeah, if you wanted to get some ideas on how to do the layout, like I said, always be proactive. You're going to come up with an idea that your teacher may love. But if you want to get some ideas, you can always check out the other classroom pages. So maybe you want to look at Miss Logan's page. And her layout will differ. So that's some inspiration you can get there. And I believe your other question was with regarding to templates. So that there is really no template. It does vary from teacher to teacher. What I would do, however, is check with Mrs. E to make sure that there's no modules or standards being followed between the classrooms. So kindergarten is notorious for trying to keep their pages the same. Because the teachers really want to have all the kids have a common start. So I would check with Mrs. E just to be sure. But beyond that, you should have quite a bit of flexibility. The only template for you to worry about is the template that's used for the module, which is this the module format, which again, if you go into settings, under page settings, the module container. So you don't want to keep that container consistent. And it's okay for you to have no container either. So you can do that. You can go up and I believe there's a EARThS none. none specified. So you can do a none, or you can do a blank container. So there's, for example, an EARThS blank, which should be that one, 20 invisible. So if you pick 20 invisible, it'll make it so that there's just no container in it. And sometimes teachers want that for especially stuff at the very top. Maybe it's the, a lot of teachers like to have the month of the year as a graphic at the top, and that's where you would not have any container. Does that answer your question, Vijay?
Yeah, that's one more. Are there any global contents or modules that will be pushed to our pages, or is completely our thing we have to manage?
And another great question. So there are, and I'm going to actually go back to Ms. Peoples' page to demonstrate that. So here's an example of global content. So on every page, you'll see this help raise funds, and you definitely want to leave that at the bottom. And if you go down even lower, there's this piece of content, which is unanimous across all pages throughout the website. Please leave this one alone. And the reason I was going to go to Ms. Peoples' page, because I thought I saw that it had shifted, and I was going to show you what to do. The third one that's... You fixed it?
Yes.
Cool. The third one is this at the top. So this is also a module. This is on every single page. Please do leave it alone. We added this as a... what do we call it, Steve? You and I did this together last year. This is almost like a crutch. It was a workaround to the fact that the login button did not work on a mobile device. So we added this as a duplicate of the login and logout function. So yeah, those three things, they will be consistent on all pages. Please leave them alone. The login banner, the help raise funds, at the very bottom, the district quick links and classroom supply lists, and then a fourth one that are on most pages. Some parents have removed it, is this one, the web training documentation. So do try to keep that on there for yourself. And remember, the only person that's going to see it is you. We have the permission set that only the web parent can see it. So do leave this one alone as well. Vijay, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
With regard to the help raise funds module, the link that links to no longer works.
Yes, we are aware of it. We have, since last year, been asking if we should remove it or make any update to it, because this one is coming from, I believe, the district. And we've reached out to Principal Rickard as well. We've gotten no response. So it's one of those, we don't want to remove it without getting that approval. But we are aware that the links no longer work. Any other question, team? And please don't hesitate to ask. It's better that you ask so that we can all learn from it. All right, so I believe that concludes our training. I really appreciate everybody joining us. We are almost 3 minutes away from the scheduled completion of the training, so this is a good time for us to sign off. Again, thank you all for participating. We will make this video recording as well available on that link for the school website. So if at any point you want to go back and review it, you may do so, or if you want to share it with another room parent that couldn't make it, or another web parent that couldn't make it tonight, please do let them know. And as always, if you have any questions, please email us. Again, the email address is, if you go to the homepage, the email address is halfway down the page on the quick links where you can email the webmasters. And one final comment, because I just realized I may not have covered it. It is in the documentation. Is with regards to the layout. So if you want to lay something out differently, notice if you scroll down, these dotted lines represent different types of frame structures. So if you want to lay it out with stuff towards the left, you can do so. If you want to lay it out where it's spanning the entire page, you can do so. So please use this at your leisure. You can even set it up where there's 3 things side by side. Okay? All right, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. I am now concluding this meeting. Please do email us if you have questions, and we give you all of our best wishes for a successful year. And again, we thank you on behalf of the school for volunteering for what is a critical and important role for the school. Thank you all very much, and good evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.